Ever find yourself scratching your head over some of the crazy stuff people argue about?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like, today's deep dive is a real head scratcher.
Hmm.
We're going to Ohio,
Yeah.
Lawrence County to be exact.
Okay.
So picture this. It's a normal day, right? And then the police get a call.
Uh-huh.
A domestic disturbance.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they roll up to the house, sirens blaring, the drill.
Yeah.
But here's the catch.
What's that?
Instead of finding the usual chaos, they stumble upon a sight that's like straight out of a sitcom.
Okay, what is it?
A brand spanking new motorcycle parked in the middle of the living room.
A motorcycle
Yeah.
in the living room.
You heard right.
Yeah.
Apparently this whole thing started because the husband decided to make a little impulse purchase. And I've been there. That add to cart button can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm dying to know, from a psychological standpoint, what's going on in our brains when we make these kinds of snap decisions.
We see our brains are kind of lazy.
Lazy brains, huh?
Well, they like to take shortcuts.
Shortcuts.
We call them cognitive biases. They're basically these mental rules of thumb that help us make quick decisions. And most of the time they work great, but other times they can lead us down some interesting paths, like buying a motorcycle on a whim.
Makes sense. So in this case, maybe the excitement of that new bike kind of overshadowed any practical considerations.
Exactly. The thrill of the purchase might have just overridden his usual careful decision-making process. Happens to the best of us.
Totally. But here's where things get really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the motorcycle's in the living room,
Right.
And the wife is not happy about it, and they start arguing. And she actually tries to push the motorcycle out of the house.
Wow.
Now, some neighbors claim they saw the husband get physical with his wife during this whole ordeal. But get this, the wife completely denies it. And to make it even more complicated, the police didn't find any visible injuries on her. So we've got conflicting stories and no clear evidence. What are your thoughts on this? How do we even begin to unpack something like this?
This is a perfect example of how messy these situations can get. Emotions are running high, adrenaline's pumping, and it's hard for anyone to think straight.
Absolutely.
Plus, we have to consider the reliability of eyewitness accounts. Memories can be fuzzy and people interpret things differently. Someone might see something that looks aggressive, but without context, it's impossible to know the full story.
That's a good point. It's like that game we used to play as kids, telephone. By the time a story gets around, it's completely different.
Exactly. And to complicate matters even more, the wife claims that she would have immediately reported any violence, referencing a previous incident where she did just that.
Oh, wow. So there's a history there.
It seems like it. And that raises some serious red flags. Domestic violence often follows a cyclical pattern.
What do you mean?
Well, it starts with tension building, right?
Yeah.
Then there's an outburst of some kind, verbal or physical. Then often comes remorse and apologies, promises to change. But without intervention, the cycle just repeats itself and often escalates each time.
That's heartbreaking. And really scary.
Absolutely. Having support systems and resources in place is so crucial in these situations.
So how does this story end?
Well, after everything went down, the husband decided to leave for the night to let things de-escalate.
Ah, so a little time to cool off.
Exactly. Sometimes stepping away from a heated situation is the best thing you can do. It allows everyone to calm down, think rationally, and hopefully come back to the table ready to have a productive conversation.
It's definitely a good reminder that even in the heat of the moment, we have a choice in how we respond.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a story. It really makes you think about how quickly things can spiral out of control and the importance of communication and conflict resolution in any relationship.
I agree.
It leaves me wondering, when is it better to walk away and cool down during an argument? And when is it better to address the issue head on before it escalates? It's a tough question and there's no easy answer, but it's definitely something to think about.
It really is.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating look into the human experience.
See you then.